Thank you for joining us on this episode of Yellow Seat Interview Series. My name is Tony Olajide. Today is a very big day. We have with us today a very big guest. The person I'm talking about is actually one of the most celebrated superstars in the entire real estate industry, not just in this province, but across the country. And I can say this much, it's actually a global superstar as well. The great Sam Mcdadi.
Hey, it's a pleasure. Thanks for the intro. Great intro. Thank you
so much
very much.
I'm so blessed to have you here today.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you so much for joining us. So Sam, you're a legend in the industry, man. I have to tell you that much.
I
A
appreciate
huge
the
legend, living legend, if I should say that.
Thank you.
So now, let me do a little bit of a background story on you for anyone that may be watching us as we are talking. Back when you were young, growing up as a young man in Mississauga, you were actually a very competitive tennis player. So good that you actually won a scholarship all the way to go study for your undergraduate degree in the States. And from that point forward, you did your master's as well.
I did.
And then you came back to the country, did a little bit of stint in the financial industry,
Yes.
and you realized it wasn't the right game for you. Then you took up your license as a realtor.
You got it.
Awesome.
You got it.
Now, almost 30 years later,
30 years later.
that same competitive and driven nature that you had all those years way when you started, it's still way out there.
I'm really blessed and fortunate that I'm still very passionate about what I do. So the minute I lose the passion, I think it'll be a game changer. But I'm going to be in this for the next 34 years because here's the fundamental thing I've done over the last few years. Things I don't like to do, I delegated. So everything I do, I enjoy. So I look forward to every single day. All the responsibilities, everything I'm dealing with is something I enjoy doing. So it's really kind of interesting because like last year at our Christmas party, we were going through I was actually rummaging through some old papers. In 2004, when I was with Remax, I think I was number 1 or 2 in Canada at the time. Okay. Some really high-profile names there. Fast track 15 years, 2019, nobody's there, right? So longevity is probably what we're most proud about.
Wow.
Yeah.
So is that the vision you had right from the beginning? To have longevity, to be successful, to be at the top of the game always. So, how did you manage to sustain this high intensity?
I'm very fortunate to where we are, what we've achieved today. When we first started, I just wanted to find a vocation I enjoyed and I was passionate about. And then from there, once we started building momentum, we saw the bigger picture. At the beginning, I can't tell you, I thought I was going to be this, realtor that was, knocking it out of the park. I just wanted to find something I was happy doing.
But you were driven.
Driven without a shadow of a doubt.
And you were very competitive.
Competitive and driven, 100%.
Otherwise, you wouldn't have won a scholarship as a tennis player.
Yeah, and the interesting thing, the studies really helped shape me for the future. So playing tennis, and it's 1 versus 1, so you can't blame a teammate who, maybe let the puck in the net or a goalie. So I had to learn to deal with pressure, and that was really important for me, life lessons as I move forward.
Wow. So upon taking your master's degree in the States and then coming back to do that little stint in the financial industry, what kind of opened up the door to wanting to be a realtor?
It wasn't like I woke up and thought, I'm going to do an MBA and become a realtor. Obviously, at that time, I thought I was going to go down the corporate path. But, I realized I was really disillusioned with that, and I just wasn't enjoying it. I was stifled, and, my personality, I'd like to be out there, meet people, and, being behind a desk just wasn't working for me, right? So really, real estate back then was something where it was a low-cost entry. I thought I liked people in homes, and let's give it a shot and see if we can make something of it. So
I haven't looked back since.
Well, and there's a couple tough moments. I had a couple, periods where I was on the brink of giving up. And when I talked to realtors, 6 months into it, I thought, I think I've got the people skills, I think I've got the work ethic, but nothing's really clicking, and I got to figure something out. If I can't have something click in the next 6 months, as much as I hate to, I might have to, think of options. And I remember one night, 2 deals, super excited, and I started thinking about, I can pay off some credit cards and this and that. And the next day, one of the person, I sent the deal to a mortgage broker, and that mortgage broker said, Sammy, these people went bankrupt 2 weeks ago. So that deal was done, right? So at least I got one deal. So let's hold on to that one deal. It was my mom's friend who I showed 100 houses to, and she tells me the next day, I think I may want to move to the States. So both got shut down, right?
Oh, no.
So it was kind of a crossroads, right? Now I was telling people never give up, because at that moment, it could be easy to say, this maybe isn't for me, let me find something else. But we persevered long enough to start seeing good days. Right?
So you look back, what you just mentioned to me, those 2 transactions, and then today, Sam Mcdadi is sitting on what, $5.2 billion in sale. so far,
we're
somewhere around
fortunate.
there.
We're maybe about $5.5 billion in sales.
Close to $1
so,
billion in transaction every year.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Not quite, but you're almost there.
Almost. Our goal is to hit $1 billion transactions. Let's say 2020. Our height was 800 million, but I think we're poised to eclipse that next year.
Wow. So Sam doesn't have to worry about paying those credit cards.
Knock on wood, things have gone okay that way. But the other thing we talk about, life lessons, we tell a lot of realtors when you first start getting out of the gates, invest in your business, do the right things, but also be frugal. Like don't go buy all these new cars and this and that when you're building your business. When you have the ability and you have the financial capacity, then that's when you can start spending, right? So for many years, I wasn't spending. I was just reinvesting back in the business. I was reinvesting in myself, and I was being pretty frugal. And at a certain point, once you got to a certain level, then you can say, okay, now I guess we can do what we want. Right?
That's fabulous. You must be a mind reader as well as being a great businessman, because you actually just took essentially the next question out of my mouth, so to speak. Right. The next question essentially I was to ask you though. So let's talk about your brand name. I mean, I don't have to convince anyone out there, okay, how much of a powerhouse you are. The Mcdadi brand name is such a powerful brand name. It's known all over the greater Toronto area, beyond this wall, across the country. Let me tell you a little bit about this. I remember back about 6 years ago, I was at a convention, a real estate convention in Austin, Texas. And there was my entire team with me as well, at this convention. And the main speaker, the main guest speaker at that convention was no other than who? Sam Mcdadi. Okay, so you're sitting on the stage, the facilitator is interviewing you, and I looked all around me, and all I saw were people totally enraptured and taking copious notes as she spoke. I said to myself and my team at that point, I said, that is the man. A man who has influence, a man who has power. So I have to ask you this. How did you build your business and brand name to that level? And not only that, if I may ask you this, since we're on this topic, since we're on this topic, that's right. So what kind of lessons did you take away from using our application of the various building blocks you actually used to create this super powerhouse brand name that you've got?
I remember going to a gala, and the broker invited me. He wanted me to kind of have my eyes open and watch. There was a guy named Cred who at that time was a top of his game, and he was #1 in the world at one point. So I was awestruck, and I said, I'm going to get on that stage, and I'm going to be #1, right? So it was a real motivator for me, but I also understood it wasn't going to happen overnight, right? So you had to build it on solid footing. A lot of mistakes the realtors make today is they want it yesterday, right? Like no shortcuts. I mean, it takes a few years to build a good business, but if you've got momentum, keep doing the right things year in, year out, your business will thrive, right? So for us, then at a certain point, I became real busy as an individual agent. Then we'll talk about the team concept. That's why I said, you know what? My team concept grew organically. It wasn't like, I want to have a team because I want to have a team. It was more like, I just can't keep up anymore. If I want to keep the same level of service, I got to bring on help. So my first few hires was a person who was a PhD and my best friend at the time who couldn't get a job. Then I hired my lawyer. He left his law practice, joined us to sell real estate. My banker did the same thing. So
Are you kidding me?
That was our four. And back then there wasn't a model, so you didn't know how to build it. So we were just kind of trial and error. What splits do we give somebody? What don't we do? How do we? And at one point I thought we're all going to be kind of equal partners, but it became pretty apparent I was going to be the workhorse, right? So it wasn't going to, we had to have a separation. So
definitely.
In terms of hierarchy.
Yeah, well, obviously, So at the end of the day, so with applying all of those different building blocks, the PhD, the lawyer, all of these heavyweights in their own wise.
Right.
Were there any stumbling parts, any lessons?
I had a lot of lessons. And the nice thing today is I think people are more open and transparent. When I was first getting into the business, I tried to talk to the top realtors about what they're doing to have success. And I felt they were kind of being a little bit closed off, right? They didn't want to share. My belief is, listen, there's enough room for everybody on top. So if somebody asks me questions, I'll answer honestly and hope to see them at the top of the food chain. So I think that was important for us. But real estate's not easy. A lot of times people get in it and they think that it's just a get-rich-quick scheme. It's not. You got to work hard, plant the seeds, and reap the benefits, right? Many people aren't ready to do that. And they get in for the wrong reasons. On Toronto Real Estate Board, 55,000 realtors, right? That's crazy. That's probably disproportionate.
We're talking about what? Maybe 10,000 of them actually doing the production,
Because if you look at
that much.
I think 50% sell zero houses, right? So, to me that doesn't make sense because if somebody's entrusting somebody with their largest financial asset, that person should be well versed and prepared to transact it properly, right? And the challenge is if somebody gets in the business, let's say my brother got in the business, but he's a part-timer, if I don't give him the business, I'm in trouble, right? So it's kind of a conflict. You want to go maybe to the best, but you can't because you got family. So it's an interesting kind of dynamic, right?
So Sam, I mean, I'm taking so much from you on this show. But when you look back over your career so far, is there a specific game changer moment that stands out above the others?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think it was probably an evolution. It wasn't one aha moment that said this is it, but I just remember thinking at a certain point after I got through the roadblocks that, I believe now I can be as good as anybody, and I think I have all the right attributes. And one thing I really realized, and this was actually funny enough in Austin, Texas, so there's maybe, I don't know how many realtors there's.
It was like 12,000 realtors,
like
the convention I was at.
Yeah, so it was insane, right? So
it was insane, and everyone was listening to you.
Oh, I appreciate that. But so my takeaway was this: the night before, I knew I had to talk, and I wanted to give a good talk. And so I went to bed at 9 or 10 o'clock at night. I had a good breakfast. I mean, I'm pretty disciplined. I work out. I don't drink. I don't smoke. So I have a pretty good regimented lifestyle. But
are you still keeping that?
Oh yeah, all the time.
No drinks?
I do no drinking,
smoking?
No smoking at all.
I'm keeping it regimented.
Like
you work out, you're in great shape, brother.
Just like my super fan, I raptorize her. So, but anyway, so I remember at that moment seeing some other really top flight realtors.
Yeah.
And how they're going out there getting drunk till 4 a.m, right? I said they can't compete against me because I've got more discipline. So if you're disciplined, laser focused, that's it. So these guys are all high level realtors, but they didn't have discipline, right? So that's a separator, right? So do I think it's funny, I had my friend Sam Mcdadi, who's a former, we were talking about this before air, he's Hall of Famer, MVP, Rookie of the Year, 5 rings, 3 championship titles, and we had a talk yesterday to the team about championship mindset and what it takes to become number one. So if you're number one in the world, you're doing things right. You're paying the price, you're doing things correctly, right? So it's interesting. I think most people just aren't ready to pay the price for success. And it's not hard. I asked them the question, what do you take more, hard work or talent? And I said, if you had a choice of two, my world, I'd take hard work all day long, right?
Any given day.
Yeah. But he was conflicted because he said this guy's so talented in basketball when he relates to basketball that these guys like Allen Iverson wouldn't play much, but he was a star, right?
Yeah.
So when I said he put time on task before, he didn't get there without practice. Maybe at the end he coached it because he liked to practice, but he did what he had to do. So to me, hard work, if I see someone who's really hardworking, and I see something special, I'll take him on. Otherwise, I'm not going to take them on.
Because talent is only going to last as talent pushes itself.
Yeah, 100%.
If talent is not only driven towards hard work, it's just talent.
Listen, hard work and talent, superstar, right?
Which is where you are, right?
Well, I don't know about that, but yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So now, let's say I get to be Sam Mcdadi, okay, for 1 week, just 1 week, all right? Can you give me an idea what my daily routine will look like? And how do I keep on top of all the various businesses I would have going on? Because I know you've got your hands in so many businesses, brother.
Yeah. One thing I've learned in life, and I've adopted the mindset, is nothing should really stress me. Life's too short. Treat every client really well, but don't get, detach from the outcome. As long as you did everything you could to have a good positive outcome, if things don't go your way, then don't get all stressed and tense, because there's no upside, right? It doesn't really make any sense to do that, right? So, I love working out. I've been doing that for years. So I've got a trainer that comes, actually 2 trainers that come to my house 5 times a week, 1 to 3 days, 1 to 2 days. I do yoga 5 days a week in the morning. So I do my workout yoga first thing in the morning, right? And I go to Florida once a month. Yeah. So I go there and I play tennis and I unwind. I'm still working, but when it's winter time, I like to see the palm trees versus the snow, right? So, and I think that's—
You found it.
Yeah, for many years I didn't want to go away. I can't go away. No, it's going to hurt my business. But if you don't learn the art of delegating and having the right people in place, then you're not going to enjoy life. And the purpose of working hard is to also have freedom to enjoy life, right?
That's
I think that's important.
So that's on the personal aspect of it, on the daily routine. What about the business aspect?
Yeah, business, the nice thing is every day is different, right? So
yes.
I might be writing for some journals. I might be doing some interviews. I might be training the team, or I'm still in the field because I feel it's important.
You still going to listen to
yeah, and I love it because now I can teach the team from the ground versus, theoretical, right? Which sometimes doesn't work, right? So
because the team is only as good as the leader, right?
Yeah, and you have
if the leader is kind of slacking and not being exactly what the team needs to do, the team is not going to succeed.
No, I have to be a motivator for them for sure, and that's really important, and I have to lead by example.
Wow. So then, how do I keep my hands? How do I keep in control of all the various businesses?
One thing I've become pretty good at is I can take on a lot of things and it doesn't faze me. Sometimes people have 1 or 2 tasks and they get really, oh my God, and they get really stressed, overwhelmed. For me, you can throw a multitude of things on my plate and I'll just figure out sequentially what I have to do first and then kind of get out of the way and move on to the next and next. And it's worked really well for me. So everything I do, all the business ventures, I have that same mindset and belief. So it goes really well. And I don't really think about time constraints. A lot of times people say, Sam, you must be so stressed. You got so much going on. Actually, I love it. I don't feel stressed at all.
Wow.
I mean, I actually really enjoy it, right? And I think that's
because it's coming straight from passion, right?
Passion,
and
yeah.
balance.
And the nice thing, honestly, right now, Tony, is that, financially we've done really well. So it's not that, that you're doing what's best for the client, as we always did, and that's what got us where we are. But it's not like, I gotta make the next deal otherwise.
You're not doing it out of desperation.
No, and people can sense that too. They know that you're really giving good counsel and you want the best for them. And when they see that, they feel that, then you're gonna have a chance to transact.
Fabulous. So now that brings me to this other question. So let's talk about Andrew Carnegie. Andrew Carnegie was probably one of the greatest businessmen of our time, and arguably or probably the most philanthropic man of our time. He wrote the book called Gospel of Wealth. He also wrote something called the Dictum of Life for himself while he was alive, a way of him to kind of go through his life. So the Dictum kind of goes in 3 different ways. So he said in a lifetime, a person should get all the education they can get. And then second, they should make all the money they can make. And thirdly, give away as much as they can give away to worthwhile causes in their lifetime, worthwhile charities. So in that light, I notice you do a lot of, you support a lot of charitable organizations. It's well known that you're a charitable man. And I have to say this, unfortunately, not every single successful person does that. So if I can ask you this, what drives that aspect of you?
I just realized at a certain point when we had a level of success that it wasn't just about me anymore. So if you can give back to people who are in need, that you can help out, then you're contributing to society as well. So, I couldn't have done that the first few years. I just didn't have the financial capacity. But as you started gaining more wealth, you have a couple options. You can buy all sorts of toys if you want. And, and that's never, it's temporary gratification, right? So, but if you're giving back and you're helping for worthy causes, you actually feel like you're doing something that's beneficial. And that's really important for me, right? So, I think I tell people all the time, listen, I think it's great if you want to buy this car or that car, but if you've got excess money, also make sure you give some back to others who aren't as fortunate, because we're blessed to be in this position.
You're right. And the fact is, I wish every single successful person out there, they're listening to this and taking note from this. Because we know probably the wealth of the world is held by maybe about 1% of the population. So 99% of the rest of the world is essentially struggling in a way.
Right.
So
right.
So if everyone would just take a note from what you've just told us, I think it would be a better place to live.
I get probably maybe 3 to 5 different, requests on a daily basis, right? People, and I'll kind of assess it on its own merit. Sometimes we'll give a little something small. We made a big commitment to our Trillium Health Partners, which is a hospital, which we thought was really important. I think there's areas they can improve upon, so the more they can fund and raise money, health is wealth, right? So, but if I see somebody, they send me an email and mom says, my daughter's got cancer or something, my heart's pretty soft then, right? So if somebody says, I want to play hockey, I'm indifferent, right? So, but if you've got something serious, then honestly for me, I would step in. I'm stepping all day long.
Wonderful. That's so kind of you. So success, it's in a way relative to one's dream and in many cases to one's efforts. But reality is not everyone has what it takes to be a Mcdadi. Okay? But if I can ask you this, okay, if you were to give a 5-point guideline or focal points on what it takes or what it would take any realtor or their businessman or businesswoman listening to this conversation today, what it would take them to succeed at a high level in their business, what would those focal points be?
Well, firstly, to have longevity, I believe you need integrity, right? So if you don't operate with integrity, you're not going to last for too long. You might last a year or two, you might fool people for a year or two, but you're not going to have a sustainable career, right? And I always tell our teammates as well, you don't want to be a shooting star, have one good year and you fizzle out. You want to have a 30, 40-year career where every year hopefully growing exponentially because you're doing all the right things, right? So I think it starts with work ethic as well too. Mm-hmm. And like I said, a lot of people aren't ready to pay the price for success. They want it, everybody wants it. Like who doesn't want to have success? But are they ready to really get in the trenches and pay the price? For the most part, no, unfortunately, right? Mm-hmm. I'd love to see more people move in that continuum. We've got some people on our team now that are younger people, but they're really motivated. And it motivates me to kind of get them to the next level because I know their passion, right? But I don't see that as much as we should, right? A lot of times people get complacent, right? So even our teammates sometimes, they get leads and that's all they first set forth. We're going to knock, we're going to do this, we're going to do this. But once they get in our environment, they're getting leads fed to them, then they don't feel the need to do part B and C, which would then help their income grow, double or triple.
The fat cat syndrome kind of sets in.
Yeah, big time. Yeah, it sets in for sure. And I think that's always something we have to be guarded about, right? But I think for me, I had a goal too. My dad had a successful business. about 17, 18 years of age, he lost everything, right? And before that, I thought, oh, I'm just gonna be able to ride on my, parents' coattails. And there's like an aha moment. I said, I gotta start working hard now. I want to do well, and more importantly, I want to take care of my family, right? So my parents who took care of me, right? So I think now in hindsight, that's probably the best thing that ever happened, because it made me kind of pull up my socks and said, okay, time to go to work, because I realized that maybe the family money we thought we had isn't there, right? So it was kind of good, growing experience, and during that period it was difficult, so my dad felt like he let us down. We're like, Dad, it's okay. I mean, we're all together, we're all healthy. I mean, God bless his soul, he passed away 18 years ago, but when he passed, he knew we were, moms would be taken care of. That was really important.
That's fantastic. Yeah. And you're carrying on that legacy.
Yeah.
That so indoctrinated, I guess you can say, sense of being.
Yeah.
So, Sam, I thought I knew you, but today, it just blows me away how much I didn't know about you. Okay, this is just, it's such a blessing.
You do a lot of homework, you do a lot. I'm impressed too.
Thanks so much, Sam. I have to ask you though, outside of all the questions I've asked you today, is there anything else you'd like to maybe contribute to this show or mention to anyone who's watching? Sure. I remember most of the audience are actually realtors, all different calibers.
Oh, nice, yeah. So I think this, and I look back at my real estate career and realtors starting out, and let's say they've been in business 2-3 years. The mistake I made is it took me too long to hire my first administrator, right? And that was a mistake, because once I hired them, I realized, why am I doing things like putting up lock boxes and which are, let's say, $15, $20 an hour tax, but my value is X, right? So I realized, listen, if I can't equate the value to what my hourly rate should be based on my income, then I'm gonna delegate, because it doesn't make sense for me to do it, right? So, but it actually freed me up then, because if I was gonna do everything myself, then you're gonna burn out. Well, they would be, I didn't burn out, right? And I think that's the key things. I've done all the right things, from healthy diet to, lifestyle, but also understanding that at a certain point you have to have a good, capable group around you that you can delegate to and have confidence they're gonna do the job, right?
So what about the realtor that happens to have a team?
That's my next discussion. So the team concept is this. A lot of times people just want a team because they want a team, but they haven't earned the right to have a team, right? And a lot of times team leaders aren't really great team leaders. They should be better salespeople. So they need to identify their strengths and weaknesses. In our local marketplace, there's a couple of realtors that tried to we want to be like Sam and have a big team, but it wasn't grown organically out of necessity. It was just, I want to compete against them. So now you've got this team, but you can't feed them leads, you're not doing the right things, you're not really equipped to do that, so then you're going to falter, and then they're going to leave you, right? So for me, my team just grew organically. I've never once looked for a realtor. I mean, we get 3 to 5 applications, maybe daily. So
on a daily
basis?
Well,
I mean, they maybe 2 to 3 to 5 sometimes, right?
Wow. People want and begging to join your organization.
Yeah, they want to be part of it, and honestly, we typically are telling people running at full capacity, but if we see something special in that resume or that person, then it warrants or merits an interview, because there's always room for someone who's going to work really hard, right? And it's interesting, in the old days, I used to hire agents in addition to the younger agents, once were in the business 20, 30 years, who had really strong accolades, and I thought, these are perfect wins for me. But I realized these guys had broken wings. They're a little bit, tainted because they didn't have the success. So if I told them do this and this, they almost was a level of resentment, right? So the younger agents, they're all in. They're so happy to be part of it. They'll do whatever. They're ready to pay the price for success.
So now let's talk about the actual business itself. I mean, way back when you started, even 10 years ago, okay, things are totally different than the way it is right now. So what would you like to say about the current state of real estate, especially in Ontario and our province?
Well, listen, I think if you're not changing, and in our market, everything's changing lightning fast. If you're not on top of it or have people who are watching, making sure you're taking the right steps, be it social media, online. Listen, 15, 20 years ago, I mean, print was the be-all, end-all, right? So we're heavy print guys, and obviously we've transitioned. And it's interesting, before, our Mississauga marketplace, they have the Mississauga News, and it was everybody's Bible for Friday night. They'd read the real estate section, they were glued to it, and if they didn't get their paper, I'd get a call. So we used to take 3-4 pages, and I remember telling our team, our marketing team during our meeting, listen guys, I think it's time to scale back. Let's not put all our properties in, let's see if people notice it. And nobody noticed, so we took from every single property being listed to maybe 5 or 6 feature homes. And not one person called and said my house isn't in the paper. So told you that was no longer a force, right? So it was interesting, but here's the key. A lot of agents, they wait too long to change, and then you're kind of adapting, right? You're being reactive versus being proactive. So we have a lot of capable people in our group that are watching trends, what do we have to do, where we have to be, and making sure we're taking the next steps. I don't have time to do that, but that's why I bring the people to do that.
Well, I'm still sure, your MBA background has helped a lot in the organization as well.
Yeah, sure. It's interesting because when I did the MBA, and like I said, we had, thoughts of doing corporate and climbing the ranks. banks, and I became disillusioned. But I realized afterwards there's still invaluable training. Like to your point, Carnegie, education, right? So I always tell our team members, always keep educating yourself. Don't ever think you know it all, get complacent, because we're learning every day, every minute. Ideally, if we've got our ears open, right? So
wow, now I can understand why you're keeping young forever, Sam. It's been such a great pleasure to have you on this show.
It's a pleasure. Thank you very much. Pleasure's mine. Thank you. Thank you.
Whoa, what a powerhouse episode today. I hope you got as much as I got out of it. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time. Be good and be powerful.